All right, boys and girls, in this lesson, we're going to look at another strategy that you can use when solving word problems or story problems in math. We call this the RIPS strategy. Let's rip it up. All right, let's take a look at our first word problem. As we look at the word problem, I'm going to walk you through the 4 steps of RIPS. All right, it says Taylor Swift drinks 6 water bottles at every concert. How many water bottles will she drink over the course of 5 concerts? The first step of RIPS is to go back in the word problem and actually find the sentence that asks you a question. So the R part of RIPS stands for rewrite or restate the question. So in this word problem, I notice that the question that I need to figure out is how many water bottles will she drink over the course of 5 concerts. So I'm going to highlight that. And since that's our question, that is what you would write down in the R box of RIPS. How many bottles will she drink in 5 concerts? The next step of RIPS is the I part, and it stands for important information. So in order to find important information in a word problem, what you want to look for is where the numbers are, okay? And if the numbers tell you information that you need to know to answer the question that you put in the R box, then that information is considered important. So if we want to know how many water bottles will she drink in 5 concerts, we obviously need to know that she drinks 6 water bottles at every concert. So I'm going to go back in the word problem and I'm going to highlight that. She drinks 6 water bottles at every concert. Notice I'm not just highlighting that she drinks 6 water bottles because that would be incorrect. She drinks more than 6 water bottles. She drinks 6 water bottles in every concert. Something else that I notice is this number 5 here, and it's actually found in the question. If I'm going to answer this question down here, I need to know that she's taking part in 5 concerts. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to highlight that in a different color, the same color that I use for my other information. So we need to know how many concerts. She's doing 5 concerts. So when you go to write this out in your I box, you don't need to write out complete sentences. What you want to do is you want to write out the numbers and what the numbers represent. And I always like to use bullets to keep my work organized. If not, it's going to kind of be jumbled together. So I put down that she has 6 water bottles. She drinks 6 water bottles at every concert, and that there's 5 concerts. Okay? Now, the next step is P, and it stands for your plan. In other words, how will you solve it? Are you going to use an equation? Are you going to draw pictures? Are you going to do a combination of different strategies, maybe skip counting? And what you want to do here is this. When you get to the P part of RIPS, this is where you kind of have to slow yourself down. And what I like to do is I like to kind of bounce back and forth between my I box and my R box because I need to take this information and figure out what I need to do with it to answer this question. All right, this is the trickiest part of word problems. Students get word problems incorrect all the time because they do the wrong plan. So let's think about this. 6 water bottles at every concert. I noticed that's almost the same thing as 6 water bottles at each concert, and I know each concert would represent equal groups, and there's 5 concerts, so it seems like we have 5 groups of 6. All right. So what would I do with that to answer this question? How many bottles will she drink in 5 concerts? Well, if I'm dealing with equal groups, 5 concerts represent 5 groups because at every concert there's a group of 6 water bottles. Get it? So what kind of math is that? Sounds like multiplication, right? So at this point, you would figure out what your equation would be. So I know that we have 5 groups of 6, so my equation would be 5 times 6. And then at this point, if I don't know my facts, I would use a multiplication strategy. So underneath my equation, I could use skip counting. I would skip count by 5 6 times. I could use drawing an array. I could use drawing equal groups. I could do 5 groups of 6. All right. At this point, you would use whatever strategy works best for you if you don't already know that 5 times 6 equals 30. So this is where you would do your work. And the next step is the S part, and it stands for the solution. This is where you simply take your answer and you look at your question, and what you're going to do is you're going to write your answer out in a complete sentence so that you're answering this question. So you're kind of restating the question and writing your answer in a complete sentence. It's kind of like the R part of a race response. So the question is, how many bottles will she drink in 5 concerts? So the answer is 30. So I'm going to answer that question. She will drink 30 bottles. So that's kind of how it works. So on your recording sheet, you'll see this word problem has already been filled out for you. If you take a look at day or at the next problem, if we advance, if you take a look at the next problem, this one we're gonna kind of work through together. So again, let's read through the word problem. So make sure you are looking at this on your recording sheet. All right, let's take a look. It says yesterday, Jen made 4 boxes of donuts. Each box had 8 donuts. How many donuts did Jen make altogether? So again, our first part is R. It stands for rewrite the question. So if you go back in the word problem, what sentence asks the question? Take a moment and look back. All right, if you said how many donuts did Jen make altogether, you are correct. Obviously, that's our question. It's the sentence that ends in a question mark. So we're going to take that and we're going to write it down in our first box. How many donuts did Jen make? Got it? All right, now, I stands for important information. So again, look back at the word problem. Look where you see numbers and see what those numbers represent. And ask yourself, do I need to know that information to figure out my answer to the question, how many donuts did Jen make? So what's the first piece of information that you notice? If you're saying the fact that she made 4 boxes of donuts, you are correct. So I'm going to highlight that. Now, we can't solve a word problem with just one piece of information. So there's got to be something else. What else is important? If you think it's important to know that each box had 8 donuts, you are correct. So I'm going to highlight that. Now, this is what you would write down in your boxes. There's 4 boxes, okay? And there's 8 donuts in each box. So this is what we need to know to answer this question. So ask yourself, what kind of math is this? Do you see any clue words? If you're noticing that word each, that's good. I'm noticing that too. What does each refer to? Right, it means equal groups, right? So let's think about this. I have 4 boxes that are filled with donuts. So the 4 boxes represent 4 groups. What's in each group? The information says that there's 8 donuts in each box. So there's 8 in each group. So what kind of math is this? What am I going to do for my plan? How would I figure out how many donuts did Jen make? If you're thinking multiplication, I am too. So our equation would be our 4 boxes times 8 in each box. Or in other words, 4 groups of 8. Boom. 4 times 8. At this point, if you don't know your facts, again, you would use a multiplication strategy. I could do 4 groups of 8. I could do an array that has 4 rows and 8 in each row. I could use skip counting. I think it's easier to skip count by 4, so I could skip count by 4 8 times. Use whatever strategy would work best for you and figure it out, and you should get the answer 32. So the last step is our solution. So we're going to take our answer, 32 donuts, and we're going to answer the question, how many donuts did Jen make? We're going to put it in a sentence. So our solution would be Jen made 32 donuts altogether. So boys and girls, this concludes day 1. All right, we've practiced looking at 2 different word problems, and we've worked through the RIPS steps so that you have a better understanding of how RIPS works. I realize that some of you have used the cube strategy, and this is very similar, Each step is very similar, but they're not always done in the same exact order. So as you learn RIPS and as you learn cubes, you decide what works best for you, okay? And feel free to use whatever strategy you prefer. Tomorrow, we're going to have more practice trying more word problems using our RIPS strategy.